She is completely unexplainable. You think she's a good girl, but once you get to know her, you realize she's everything. She's crazy, she's funny, she's honest, and you never know what she'll do next. That's my Tracy and my good friend.
Woo! 2024! Yay! Woo! Well, here we are. We're here, and I have got the most amazing guest today. I'm really excited for you to meet my friend LEIGH VALENTINE. I met LEIGH at a Republican event that I was at, and I'm meeting such wonderful people. And you know how it is when you meet someone and you instantly have chemistry, right, like we had.
We did.
And I mean, I swear, this is like my older sister, you know?
Yeah.
Like, she's just amazing.
You're my baby sister.
And so I wanted to introduce you and LEIGH. I mean, tell the viewers how we met. Do you remember?
Well, we have run into each other at so many events, and then one night we were all just sitting around talking, and it was just like there was so much chemistry, and we found out we were both from the Midwest. I'm from Missouri, and she's from Indiana. Tracy's an Indiana girl living here in Florida, and I have had a home here in Florida for many years. So I don't know, it's just been, we keep running into each other, and we'll be at several upcoming events. And you're just dynamite entrepreneur, and I love your studio and what you're doing here. It's fabulous.
Yay! Thank you, thank you. So tell me, what is your background? Where are you? I know you're from Missouri, right? Now tell me, what kind of a family did you come from? Like what? You know, what happened to you before today? Like just a really quick snippets of the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. You know, I grew up in a really great family in St. Louis, Missouri. My dad was a surgeon, but my mother was in this kind of like a multi-level marketing company that just started out called Stanley Home Products. Here she'd been a concert pianist, and she'd get into sales. And Mary Kay Ash even came to our home because she was in the same company. My mom led the nation in sales, and so I think that got in my blood.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I went to Stevens College. I went to University of Tampa, Florida State, then graduated from Stevens College, Columbia, Missouri, won Miss Missouri. Had a contract.
You won it?
Yeah, I won it.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing.
Missouri. And so I was on my way to do a soap opera in New York. And it was a Sunday morning when I should have been in church. And I'm driving this brand new shiny Corvette a million miles away from thinking about God. And I was in a tragic car accident. I turned this Corvette over. Here I was, Miss Missouri, laying in fiberglass. The tire was on my back leg.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 21 years old.
Wow.
20 or 21. And I ended up 4.5 months in the hospital, another 6 weeks in a full body cast. It was just horrific,
Wow.
Tracy. But, you know, out of that place, God really did a miracle in my life. And that's why I know God heals today. God does miracles. And I'm the last person to have a skincare company because I had third-degree burns. And it's just one miracle after another. And after a tragic divorce, I was married to a very abusive husband. Just unbelievable. Could have such a good side, and the next minute he'd explode and just knock me all around. So I had the car accident and abusive marriage. And out of that tragedy where it looked like nothing good could ever come out of my life, I started my skincare company. And everybody said, why can't you just be normal? Just get a normal job after your divorce. There's no way that you can go on QVC. You know, who do you think you are? You're going to be on the Home Shopping Network. I said, well, I'm going to go on the Home Shopping Network, and I'm going to take my new serum, this formula that God gave me supernaturally. Oh, and there's my new Exosome product. And I'm going to be #1 on QVC. I'm going to sell more than anyone. I'm going to break records. And my family said, you are absolutely out of your mind. Just be normal. Get a normal job to raise your son. Well, supernaturally, I got on QVC, did 800 live shows, sold millions of dollars. In fact, Tracy, this serum, I've sold over 50 million bottles of this formula serum.
Wow.
That God gave me this formula.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, tell me, I mean, like, what you were married. Did you do this after your marriages?
After my marriages, yeah.
So, what year did you found this company?
Let's see, 1998.
And what
So like
led you to
25
these
years ago.
products? What led you to these
Well,
products?
it was crazy. I was taking these herbal teas and boiling teas to get rid of puffy eyes, and I was taking shea butter and vitamin E and making all these concoctions in my kitchen sink and then mixing stuff up in my bathtub.
In Missouri.
No, now this time I was in Dallas. It was after
Okay.
my second divorce.
Okay.
My son and I are sleeping on the floor. I had beautiful clothes and jewelry from my marriage, no furniture, ended up with zero money from my marriage, and my husband was a multimillionaire. Everybody thought I'd got millions, but the court system was not good to me in
Right.
Texas at all. He outdid me with attorneys. He lied, he stole, he connived, and I was stupid. I did so many stupid things during that divorce. You know, the one thing I want to say to you, if you have an attorney and you're going through a divorce and they come to you and they say, unless you give me $50,000 or $100,000, I can't represent you anymore. Tracy, I did not know that the judge would have ordered him to stay in as the attorney of record and made my husband pay for him. So stupid me, I just signed off and let go of the good attorney that was scaring my husband to death. And then I'm left with no attorney fighting my husband who's got 6 attorneys, and I don't have any money. And I didn't realize the judge would have ordered that. So I went through a lot of bad things. I had to take an attorney that was just basically worthless. I ended up after 6 months. We were the opening story in Dallas, Texas. I mean, our divorce was the opening story on all 3 networks every night for 6 months. And I got kicked out of my beautiful mansion across from Emmett Smith. I moved in with my maid, sleeping on the floor with my little boy.
Oh, my goodness.
I ended up with nothing. But you know what? When you've hit rock bottom and there's no way out, it's like, I can't begin to tell you how God gave me these formulas, and against all odds, I ended up going from totally broke, going from church to church to get money to pay the electricity, to pay my food. For Thanksgiving, I was so embarrassed. I pull up in my little Lexus left over from my divorce and couldn't put gas in the car, went to this church, got everything I needed for Thanksgiving. And I mean, when I tell you I was broke, I was broke. And I had some little retail job trying to support my son, and I was $300,000 in debt, had to file bankruptcy. And when I tell you my husband was worth $80 million and I got zero, that's what'll happen when your ex-husband can out-lawyer you and you make stupid moves. Listen, be smart, ladies. Be smart. I didn't have a prenup. I was so stupid in my second marriage, and I would have done much better with a prenup.
So that's what you would recommend to women today, is to get a prenup?
I guess it depends, but in my case, definitely, because he just lied and hid money and said.
How long were you married to him?
I was married 4 years, I believe, 3.5 years.
And the first marriage, how long?
The first year was 10 years.
The first marriage, how long were you married?
10 years.
All right, so then how long was it in between till you found your second love?
About
I'm always interested in that because I've been 13 years for me, so
3 months.
you found the next one 3 months later. See,
And I ran off and married him right away. We went to Santo Domingo, got married.
You love at first sight,
And that should have been, yeah, I think it was. And see, I was so hungry for someone to give me attention and to, and he was exciting. He was buying me gifts. But, I was so stupid. I was warned not to marry him by my pastor. And I can't believe that I didn't wait a little bit longer, because even though the first year I thought I died and went to heaven because everything was so beautiful, and he was buying me gifts, and we were traveling to places like Israel and Italy and studying the Bible together. And I just felt like this is so great. And then he started drinking heavy, and turned into a nightmare. And we had a home down here in Fort Lauderdale and a home in Dallas. And I can't begin to tell you the hell I went through. I mean, literally feared for my life when he was intoxicated, feared for my son's life, and he's so little. I had my son by my first marriage. So now my son's like 2 years old, and I went through a lot. So I don't know what you're going through, but let me tell you something. Don't let your emotions rule you. Be smart, ladies. Think, pray. I so got in my emotions all the time that I made stupid moves. Don't do that. You got to get alone, get calmed down. Don't do stupid things. Make sure you're making the right moves. And even if you're totally broke, God can show you the path to go on. You've got to hear the voice of God. You've got to cry out to him. You got to pray. You got to surround yourself with good people and listen to wise counsel. In the multitude of counsel, there's wisdom. So don't be stupid. Listen to counsel. Weigh everything out. Take notes. Write everything down. Save every document. Everything. Be smart because, you never know what can happen. I would have never thought in a million years I would get divorced from my second husband. I was so madly in love that I did stupid things. I couldn't think straight.
Was there an age difference?
I think he was about 7 years older. Not a big difference.
Okay. All right, because my last episode was about age difference, money, or do you marry for money or do you wait and marry for love? But it sounds like you thought you found both,
well,
right?
I really, honestly, to be honest, I didn't care about the money. I cared about somebody really loving me and taking care of my son. Oh, and this is the other thing. I was so deceived. To win my heart, he was sending my mom beautiful outfits from Italy, buying her flowers.
How did you meet this man? How did you meet him?
I was at a conference in Germany speaking. I used to be a speaker all over the world, and he was speaking at the same conference. That's how I met him.
All right, so he
Met
was
him
a
in
leader,
Cologne,
a
Germany.
speaker. Yeah, that would be very attractive. Leader, a speaker, yeah.
Yeah, and he was very successful. And so, one thing, just don't be seduced, really wait and weigh things out and be wise, and no one's perfect. I mean, you're not going to meet someone that's perfect. Forget about it. And I always say, just, listen inside because God will show you what to do. He'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, so I was going to ask you, what was your inspiration? So you get out of this marriage,
Right.
And you have nothing. You really,
Nothing.
literally, you
Nothing.
went to live with your maid. You said,
My
so
maid.
you had nothing, and then how does it come to your mind? Like, I'm going to start a skincare line.
Well, after I was Miss Missouri, I'd worked for Revlon as a national beauty consultant, traveled all over the country for them, and to get through. When I lived in New York City as an actress, model, and I was in the ministry too in New York City, I worked at Bloomingdale's for Estee Lauder as a makeup artist. And so I was always mixing up concoctions. I was always trying all these different things on my skin. I had a lot of sun damage. And I can't even remember, but I remember one day I was so suicidal. I was laying on the floor. I'd gotten this little apartment in Dallas, Texas, moved out of my maid's pretty house that she had gotten when her husband died. And I'm leaving in this little apartment. Couldn't even unpack because I had no drawers to put anything in. And I just remember, I'm going to start a skincare company. I'm going to take some of these concoctions and I'm going to bottle them somehow. And somehow I met this little Baptist man. He said, Leigh, you don't have to mix stuff up in your kitchen sink. There's actually labs that you can work with chemists on the fragrance, the consistency, all this stuff. He said, let me drive you over to this place in Dallas. I go, okay. So I think I'm going to walk in, Tracy, to this little dumpy little place where they're mixing it in a little frying pan or something, a little boiling pan. I go in Dallas. And I meet this man, Doug, and it's this big manufacturing place in Dallas, Texas. And the minute I walked in, I said, this is what I was born to do. I started for 18 months. I'd drive over there every week. I started working on a skincare serum, and I'd meet with the chemist, and I'd say, no, it needs to be a little thicker. It needs this fragrance. And this was the miracle that God did for me. Right when I was ready to launch this product, and God will do this for you no matter what.
I think it's a miracle that you met that man. That was the first miracle.
That was the first miracle.
Yeah, like it sounds like there were a lot of miracles.
It
That
was
the first one.
I mean, really.
Like
I've
thought of this before. I've thought of things like this before. Like, but where would I go? Who would bottle it? Like, where would I go if I founded something like this?
Because you're an entrepreneur. You like to.
Yeah. I always have thoughts going on. But I'm like, I've thought of this. I'm like, well, where would I bottle something like this. So then what happened? What was next?
Well, I didn't know. This is where I really miss God again because, and I always teach this at my women's conferences, you can have the best idea in the whole world, Tracy, but if you're not funded and you don't partner with the right people, it's eventually going to come back to bite you.
Right.
And I mean, that's all. We could do a whole show on this, how to fund your business, how to make sure you have your agreements all signed. So here I am totally broke. And I'm working with this lab. And he said, Leigh, I'm making these formulas for you really basically for free because I believe in you. He said, I think one day you can be as big as Mary Kay. I go, really? And so I'm there, and he said, but normally I have to charge for R&D, research and development. Normally this would be like $2,500 to $5,000 per formula. And that's a whole other story. But as I started working on this formula, I knew I had something. I'm using it on my mom and all of her senior friends, and I couldn't believe the difference in their skin after 30 days. But this is the biggest miracle ever, Tracy. As I'm getting ready to launch this product, and I got some funding from somebody that I was dating, big mistake, and that's for a whole other show. So as I'm getting ready to launch, I get a call from the chemist, and he goes, Leigh, I really like you. I can't believe what you've been through. He said, I want to help you. He said, we found this ingredient, and it comes from a plant extract. And he said, we've been using it in these clinical studies, thinking it's going to get rid of arthritic pain in women's hands because it's anti-inflammatory. But the more we're using it on their hands and their knees and their feet to get rid of arthritic pain, he said, you're not going to believe it. Their hands and their knees and their feet are starting to look 5 to 10 years younger. I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, it's a plant extract, and it firms and tightens the skin. He said, I'm going to make millions of this with Lancome and Estee Lauder. I said, don't give that ingredient to anybody. Do not. I said, can I use it in my new product? He said, yes. He said, it's going to flow right in with your aloe vera, your collagen, your vitamin E, all your organic ingredients. And I called it Elastazone. So I put that in my product.
Which one is that in?
It's in my formula that I've sold. I've now sold 50 million bottles of this. I mean, who does that? From sleeping on the floor, it's a God moment. And so God can do that for anybody. If you got something that is really strong in you, don't let your parents talk you out of it like mine were trying to do, and my brother, and all of my friends saying, Leigh, just be normal. You're never going on QVC. You're not going to sell millions of dollars. No one knows you. You're not Estee Lauder. You're not whoever. But I got to tell you, then this is another big miracle, Tracy. I get this phone call, and they said, this guy that I knew, and he said, I heard about your stuff. Would you fly to Toronto, Montreal? I want to talk to you about your products. So stupid me, I spend my last little bit of money, fly all the way to Montreal, don't speak French, get there, go to this guy's office, and I dressed really nice, so it looked like I had money. I didn't have a dime to my name. I didn't even know I was going to get a taxi back to the airport or buy a piece of pizza at the airport. And I go in his office, and I had my products with me. I just started to launch them. And I get there, and the guy said, ha, ha, ha. He said, I'm not really interested in your products. I flew you up here because I have a new product, and I really think you'd be fantastic promoting my product. And I'm sitting there. I was trying to hold back the tears. I said, this guy is such a deceiving idiot. But I teach this at my conferences. All things can work together for good to those that love God and are called for his purpose. So as I'm sitting there, I just go, you know what? I forgive this man. I forgive this man. And I stood up and I said, sir, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I have the best skincare on the market. I have worked on these formulas for 1.5 years. Actually, I've worked on them for 10 years in my kitchen. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not interested in your product, but if you want to be successful, you should start promoting my product. It wasn't 5 days later, I get a call from this little Jewish girl, Stephanie Fisher in Los Angeles and said, we met a guy from Montreal that told us about your product. We'd like to market you and put you on QVC. And I got thinking about it.
Who was that that called you just out of the blue?
A girl named Stephanie that somehow met the guy from Montreal, and they weren't interested in his product either. They said, we like that other product you brought it to us from LEIGH VALENTINE.
Wow.
And he told them how to get in touch with me. And the internet was just launching in 1998. People were just learning how to use computers. And the next thing I know, Tracy, I'm signing a contract with these crazy people in California. I really didn't know what I was doing. They flew me out. I did my first infomercial that did $25 million in sales. Did my second infomercial that I didn't know it did $200 million in sales because they stole most of the money. And through those people in LA, they got me on QVC, and I sold out my first show. And I did 800 shows after that. But I did a lot of stupid things along the way, and that's why you're going to have to buy my book that's coming out soon, How to Be Successful in Business and Not Make Mistakes Along the way.
Right. Now, what religion are you? You mentioned God a few times. Do you follow any certain religion?
Well, I would just say that I believe in being born again. I'm a born-again Christian, and I'm non-denominational. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So you were asking me about my religion before the camera got on, and I said,
Yeah,
wait,
yeah.
hold it. I don't like to talk too much before the show.
Right.
We're not going to have anything to talk about on the show, so let's not use up all of our material here. But anyway, I think I've told you before that I was baptized Catholic, and as things would be, I was more spiritual than religious always. And then when we started going through COVID, I was like, man, I got to get closer to God. And then my sister is a born again, Catholic, changed her life. Her daughter was able to get heart surgery because the church ended up raising over $100,000. It was amazing. And that made her Catholic. She's like, okay, So then I started following Catholicism. I changed, I got confirmed Catholic when I was in Coral Gables, Miami. And actually that brings us to the blog.
The blog time.
It's blog time. Okay. So anyway, this is something that I wrote. My blog is www.beingtracy.com. I don't write in it anymore, but I used to. When I lived in Miami, I started the blog because things kept happening to me that were making me really passionately affecting me. And I felt like it was helping me to deal with what I was going through was to write the blog, okay? And so this particular blog that I wrote was called Changing It Up. And I actually wrote this one when I lived in Coral Gables. And I wrote, when your life isn't going exactly as you'd hoped because it's time to make some changes. And as nothing can change until you do make some changes, okay? And so I had changed from the girl going to happy hour every weekend or every night on South Beach to, as my sister Jacqueline said, Tracy, she said, it's not the people that go to church all the time whose lives are going so great. It's those people that really, are looking to have the most prayers, that need the most prayers, and they need the most God's help. Were you going to the church during the day, during the weekdays?
Maybe on Wednesday night.
Oh my goodness, this is what I went through in Miami. And if you read my first podcast, Why Did You Leave Miami? It explains what I was going through, but I went ahead.
I still want to know that whole
I went
story.
ahead. We got to watch my first podcast.
I did. I must have missed that part.
Yeah, the first one, I didn't interview anybody, but people had always been asking me when I moved to Boca, why would you move from Miami to Boca? They're thinking Miami is all that. Well, it is a wonderful place to live, but I went through some really personally challenging moments. And through that, I became Catholic, and also I started going to church every day. And so I went from going to happy hour on South Beach to going to church every day in Coral Gables. So that's what I came from. And so at the age of 53, I became that person. That was 2 years ago. And anyway, with all these things going wrong at the beginning of 2022, and I'm not going to go into them again in this blog. I did go through them again, but you know what? I'm not focusing on what didn't go right in my life. I'm focusing on the future and what
Yes.
is going great in
That's
my
right.
life.
That's good.
And so I don't want to go back over that, but I just wanted to touch on the fact that, I ended up changing everything. This blog is called Changing It Up. I changed the music I was listening to. I started listening to country music instead of pop. I changed my diet. I started working on the evenings instead of the mornings. I was detoxing like crazy, which will also cause the next thing, which I was crying a lot. It's detoxing, crying. I had to go through it all. I was watching motivational videos.
I remember now what happened.
I was going to church all the time. So I just decided it was time to get back on track. And so I hadn't written a blog in a long time before I wrote this particular one, but I was like, I've almost forgot how to write a blog. But anyway, it gave me time, and writing helps me heal. And so that's what I did. And so what do you do to heal, Leigh?
Oh, that's a good question, Tracy. But I do remember now what you went through. I did watch that whole show. You all got to watch that show because she had somebody walk out on her. It was devastating. I remember now. Well,
among other things. There were like 5 really super bad. Like my sister Jacqueline said to me, geez, Tracy, like one of those things would have gone wrong and it would have paralyzed a person. But like all 5 of them going wrong.
At one time.
But you know what? I'm seeing now the wonderful life I have here in Boca, and it's just developing. And it took all 5 of those things to get me out of Miami because I was so sure that was where I was supposed to be. And so I know God was with me, and God was just pushing me on. And you know what? I was really, I'm tough. I'm a tough cookie. So it had to push me really hard to get me out of Miami. So that's what happened. And you know what? Now I just keep receiving blessing after blessing. And I'm super, super happy and super grateful.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, Tracy, one of the things that I do to heal is that when I have these bad thoughts and I really want to be tormented with unforgiveness and bitterness, and how could they do that to me? And why did they look at me that way? And why did they say that? And why did they gossip about me? You've got to just say it with your mouth. No, you know what? I forgive Rachel. I forgive Debbie. I forgive them. I would say it out loud because life and death are in the power of the tongue, and you'll eat the fruit of it. There's something so powerful to just release that, and don't let the enemy torment you with these thoughts. Yesterday we were talking about my ex-husband. One has died. My first husband died a horrible death, and my second husband, as far as I know, is still alive. But I really don't have any animosity toward him like I did. I don't feel anything. I mean, if you were to walk in here, I don't feel anything. I mean, God has so delivered me of all those hurts, those wounds, all the anger, the frustration, and especially just that unforgiveness. And you've got unforgiveness if you think about someone or if you see them like, you just get like, and that's where you just got to let it go. It's an act of your will. You've got to let it go, let it go. And like Jesus even said, he said, if you do not forgive, I cannot forgive you. And that's the key. We've got to forgive. Let it go. It's not worth it. It's not being worth it. All crippled up with arthritis. I'm in my 60s, and people say I look great. And I say, one of the things that I do is I forgive and release everything. Let it go and just love everyone, because that's the best medicine. And ask God to bring healing to you. And He will.
I agree. Now, have you always been religious? It sounds like you have.
No.
No?
No. I was a wild one in college, drug addict, party girl down here in Florida. I was Miss Tallahassee. I was in Florida State. I lived in Tampa, went to University of Tampa for a while. I was a wild girl.
Wait, you were Miss Tallahassee and also Miss Missouri,
Then I went on to win Miss Missouri, yeah.
So Miss Tallahassee at the age of what?
Maybe 19.
And Miss Missouri
at 21.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's amazing. And so what was it that eventually got you to turn back to God? And what are you doing now? Because it looks like you're like a pastor or a preacher from the pictures I've seen of you recently.
That's
are
amazing.
Or maybe just a speaker?
I pastored a church for a while, and I'm a Bible teacher, but I'm also a businesswoman. And I'm starting a new podcast that's LEIGH VALENTINE Ministries, so you'll be able to catch up with that. And I love the studio. I love working with your guy here. Your producer is fabulous, Ben, the producer. But I think, what was your question, Tracy?
Well, I was just saying, when did you turn to God for guidance? Like
Yeah. I think it's important, like even last night I was having a hard time to sleep. I just got my Bible out and read a few scriptures. I try to read the Bible every day. I do go to church on Sundays and Wednesday nights, and when I can make it, I go to Monday night prayer. But I think it's so important that you just have a relationship with God. And what really started just drawing me to God was actually at University of Tampa. I had a little teacher there named Mrs. Allen that was my drama and speech teacher. And she started telling me about Jesus. And every time I was around her, I just felt so much peace. And I think it's a series of things that bring us closer to God. But we've got to make a decision to stay in our Bibles, read our Bibles, because the most important thing is that you have a relationship with God. And out of that, creativity comes, healing comes, good sleep comes. He says, I give my beloved rest. And I just think that's the most important thing. And, in Deuteronomy, it talks about in Deuteronomy 28 that he wants to bless us and he doesn't want to curse us. He wants many blessings to come upon our life. And a lot of times when nothing's going right, we got to stop and say, okay, wait a minute. Something is not right here. I've got to change. I've got to move from Miami to Boca Raton. Right. Or I had to move from Dallas to North Carolina, and I came kicking and screaming. But it was the best thing I ever did because that was where God planted me for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And look how happy you are here.
I'm super happy. I hate to say I couldn't be happier because you can always find more things to bless you, right?
Right.
So anyway, but I think it might be time for Ben.
Is it time for the real estate minute?
I think it is, Ben. I think it is.
Real estate
Perfect.
minute. Let's go.
Okay, according to USA Today, October 2023, Florida now has surpassed New York as the second most valuable housing market in the U.S., according to Zillow. Florida's fast-growing population throughout the pandemic contributed to the rise in real estate value in the state, where the market jumped to $3.8 trillion in June from Florida's fast-growing population. Where the market jumped to $3.8 trillion in June from about $2 trillion, only $2 trillion in January 2020, according to newly released Zillow data. That means the Sunshine State overtook New York at the number 2 spot in the nation. Though Florida still falls far behind California, where the market is valued at $10.2 trillion in 2023. Now it's worth a record-breaking $52 trillion overall. Zillow economist Orphe Devogny attributes the rebound to new construction coming online and capturing deficit dollars as many homeowners opt to stay put in the face of rising mortgage rates. So anyway, please send or leave me a message if you don't have a realtor. I recommend working with a realtor. You can always get your best deal working with a realtor. They're great negotiators. We're all taught how the market is working and how to get you your best price for buying, selling, and investing in your property. And if you don't have someone you're working with right now, please reach out to me. I've got wonderful partners all over the world with Keller Williams that I work with, and I'd love to help you out to find out who they are. And also, please, underneath this podcast, like it, subscribe to my channel, follow it, anything you can do, any kind of love you can give it, share it with your friends, people that would be interested in our message. We would love to get out and reach more people. And please tell us how my viewers can get products such as yours.
Okay, so listen. If you want to have younger, firmer, tighter toned skin for any part of anyone in your family, and you want to bless Tracy and help her stay on the air and reach millions of people because she is dynamite, we got to help her. I am going to bless her with anything you order. She's going to get blessed, and you're going to get a big discount if you punch in the promo code Tracy. And how do you spell Tracy? Tracy. see why. And you're going to go to LeighValentine.com, punch in the Tracy code, or you can call me and ask for the Tracy special on the non-surgical facelift or my new Exosome product, which is unbelievable.
I just ordered all these products.
She sure did.
I just started using them, so you have to be watching me to see how I look.
And let me tell you a little trick, ladies and men. If you want to have younger looking hands and younger looking necks, don't waste a drop of the new Exosomes peptides or my powerful serum. Squirt 2 or 3 drops on the back of your hand and go like this and then work it right up into the neck area. I did this on QVC for 14 years and we had millions of people say, you know, I haven't had any surgery on my neck or my face. It will help lift and tighten and tone. I'm in my 60s now. You will love my products. And they're all clinically proven, 100% natural. And this one is all organic, pure peptides. It'll arrive cold. Keep it in your refrigerator. Pure Exosomes. This product that Tom Ford is selling in Palm Beach, he's selling for $800 a bottle. We've got a special promo for you. Call and find out what it is. Incredible. 70% off with Tracy's deal. And you get the non-surgical facelift. This mask is what will totally transform your skin. Lift and tighten and tone. I've sold 50 million of my masks. Funny story, Joan Rivers, before she passed away, she'd order 12 kits at a time. I have had so many celebrities that could afford anything. They love my mask because nothing exfoliates and plumps up the skin and gets all the blood flow and the oxygen. So call now. Operators are standing by, and we want to hear from you. And we want to take care of Tracy. Let's go, team.
I've just started using all of these fit skincare, and so I'm really excited.
And I see a new glow in your skin.
And I told her I don't want, if I don't look at you during the podcast, you know, it's because of this thing. You know, I like to look straight on, you know me. But anyway, so I'm hoping that this is going to help with everything. I'm putting it all over. Put it all over.
Over. If you can afford it, do the whole body.
Chest to forehead. I'm like
the neck.
covered. And so I haven't done anything like this in a while. So I'm really excited for the changes.
I know you called me the other day. You had the mask on your face, and I told you, leave it on for at least 30 minutes and then take it off with those warm face cloths. And I see a real
And I
good
said
glow.
I kept it on for 40 minutes.
Woo, good girl.
I'm like, please tell me what to do. I can't really read the little words under the back of the, I took a picture of it to read the little words to make sure I was doing everything right. So I'm really excited. I'm excited for the changes.
Well, we got a
because
new
look at
instruction
this.
book.
Look at my model here. My model. I'm like, I want to look like this woman.
Yeah, when you hit 60, you will.
Exactly.
And I've got a young girl. She's only like 23 years old. She said, this mask has changed my pores, got rid of blackheads, pimples, glycolic acid, salicylic acid. So call and order today. Bless everyone in your family. And we want to be your anti-aging skincare for life. And men, you know what, Tracy? Men are buying this like crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Of
good
all
news too.
ages, they're really getting into anti-aging skincare, especially Floridian men that are out there on the golf course and the boating. They know they've got to do something for their skin. So it's been great. Yay!
Well, thank you so much for coming
Love you
today,
so
Lee.
much.
I
You're
love
dynamite.
you too. I mean, like you know how it is when you feel someone you have such a common, something with, But anyway, that's the way I feel with Lee. And I'm so glad you all came to our show today. We are so happy to be starting a new year, and we're excited, and it's going to be a great one for all of us. So let's just put it out there. Pray to God. Remember to be grateful every day for everything that you have. Because
That's
you know
right.
what? I tell my girls, the only way to get more is to be grateful for what you already have.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Okay? Love you guys. Have a great
Love
have a
you.
great
God
week.
bless you.